First of all, let's see the use of had. So had is used when we have two events both happening in the past. For example, the train had left before I reached the station. So the two events are happening, train left and I reached. Which event happened earlier? The train left earlier. So the event that is happening earlier will use this had left, this form of verb for that particular action. And the event that happened later, so we'll use simple past tense for that, reached. Okay, again two events are happening, one event happening earlier, so the event that happened earlier will use had left for that. The company announced and analysts expected, analysts predicted something. So which event happened earlier? The analyst predicting something, that obviously will happen earlier. Prediction will always happen before the results are announced. So analysts had expected. So C, D, E are out. Had expected is the right form. Then after that, will and would. Both refer to the future, but the usage is different. For example, I think it will rain tomorrow. Versus yesterday the weather department predicted that it would rain on Sunday. So would here, it's also a prediction, but the prediction happened in the past. Yesterday they predicted. And if the prediction is happening in present, we'll use will for that. So now the prediction happened in the past, so would is the right usage. A is wrong. Again, let's see here. Greatly influenced by the Protestant missionary Samuel Kirkland, the Oneida was. Now this is the Oneida. Okay, so we are talking about a league, a group of people, and the league. Now this is called collective noun, and this is plural in nature. Okay, for example, the French are well dressed. So are is the right usage here instead of is. Is would be wrong. So was, that's wrong. Second, if we see option E, had cited. Again, as we have already seen, had is used when two events are happening in past and one event happens earlier. So greatly influenced by so and so. So Oneida was only one of the 5 nation Iroquois League who sided with the colonists. So only one event is happening here, which is the leagues, it sided with the colonists. Okay, so had is the wrong usage. I mean, you might argue that greatly influenced. So this is also second event, and two events are happening. Even if we assume this is the second event, now what is happening earlier? The influence is happening earlier, so we can't use had sided for this. Okay, so the nation, the league sided with something that is not happening earlier, that happened later. So any which way, had sided would be wrong. Now between C and E, there are two things. One, in GMAT, always verb form precedes or supersedes adjective or a noun form. Okay. That's one thing. Second, insiding versus sided. Okay, sided is the right verb form, insiding is the wrong form. So insiding is wrong, or we should say compared with insiding versus sided. Okay, a pure verb form, this is preferred. So C is the right answer. In this question, we can eliminate 2-3 options by pure meaning thing. Scientists learned how to make a synthetic growth hormone, removing it painstakingly. So scientists have learned to make some growth hormone, synthetic growth hormone, removing it. So this it pronoun refers to the earlier noun, which is the synthetic growth hormone. Okay. So removing it painstakingly in small amounts from the pituitary glands of human cadavers. Human cadavers means human body. Now, if we remove something from human cadavers, it's going to be a natural thing. How can it be a synthetic hormone that we can remove? So we can't remove anything synthetic from human body. So this usage is wrong. Synthetic growth hormone, synthetic growth hormone, synthetic growth hormone. This is wrong usage. Okay, this doesn't convey the right meaning. So between C and E, scientists learned how to synthesize the growth hormone. Now this is a pure verb form. So as we have seen in the previous question, verb form always takes precedence over adjective form or noun form. To synthesize, that's the verb form. Synthetic growth hormone, synthetic is getting used as an adjective for growth hormone. So in that sense also, synthesize makes more sense, it takes precedence. Now between C and E, synthesize the growth hormone, it had to be painstakingly removed. Learning how to synthesize the growth hormone, it had to be painstakingly removed. Now whatever is written after comma, it has to refer to the right noun. For example, learning how to synthesize. Who is learning? The scientists are learning. So when I say learning how to synthesize the growth hormone, after comma it should be scientists removed it painstakingly. That's how it should be. Okay. For example, barking and shouting. A man was chased by dogs. Versus barking and shouting. Dogs chased a man. So barking and shouting. Who is barking and shouting? The dogs. So dogs chased a man is the right usage. Similarly, it had to be painstakingly removed is not preferred. It's not the right usage. This is the right usage. Now this is a good question. However much United States voters may agree that there is a waste in government and that, and this is important here, this is called parallelism. And this word "and" is the most frequently used indicator for parallelism. Okay, whatever is used after "and", the same must be used before "and". For example, and that the government. So the clause before "and" should also start with that, like this is getting used here. So that is used here. We'll keep it, we'll remove it, we'll remove it, we'll remove it, we'll keep it. Okay, that there is a waste in government, and that the government as a whole spends so and so. That's how it is. So that is one thing. Second thing, a clause. A clause is something which has a subject and a verb. Clauses of two types, dependent and independent. Independent clause means which can sustain a meaning without any outside support. For example, I completed my task. I completed the work. Okay. Now this has its own meaning without any other support. Dependent clause means a clause which cannot sustain a meaning without any other support. Okay. For example, before the instructor arrived. Now it has a subject, it has a verb, but it has no meaning without any other clause, without any other support. Now a dependent clause has to be there with an independent clause always. So before the instructor arrived, comma, I completed the work. So a dependent clause can be connected with an independent clause by a comma. But if we have two independent clauses, they can be joined by a semicolon, they can be joined by a comma, and so that's how we join them. Now if you see here in the original sentence, however much United States voter may agree that there is waste in government, the government as a whole spends beyond its means. Now the first one is a dependent clause. Okay, it itself doesn't sustain any meaning. The second, it is difficult to find broad support for the movement towards a minimal state, and this is an independent clause. So they can be connected through a comma. Okay, so A is the right usage. If you see E, now if you replace the underlined part with this option, there is agreement among United States voters that there is a waste in government and the government as a whole spends beyond its means. This becomes independent clause, and two independent clauses should not be connected with a comma. That would be wrong. Used by natural history museum curators in the preparation of animal skeletons for display. Domestic beetles, okay, feed on the decaying flesh of animal carcasses with its mouth parts. So its refers to what? The beetles. So its has to be accompanied by a singular subject. So A and B are out. The domestic beetle, the domestic beetle, the domestic beetle. Okay. Now between C, D and D, what do we do? Now if you see option C, the domestic beetle feeds on the decaying flesh of animal carcasses in order to pull with its mouth parts to strip so and so, versus pulling versus and it pulls. Now we use this word, or we join two clauses, two actions by and, when they are independent of each other. Okay, but if one action is dependent on another, or one action is kind of a subset of another action. Like if we see here, the beetles feed on the decaying flesh and pulling with its mouth parts to strip the bone of any residual fat. Now, are these two independent actions? No. Okay, so it will do the strip the bone of any residual fat. Okay, and it will feed, because of that it will feed on the decaying flesh. So these are not independent events, they are connected with each other. So pulling in that case is the right sense. It's like one action is causing the another action. Okay, So mostly it's cause and effect relationship. Okay, so by pulling the bone of any residual fat, it feeds on the animals. They're connected, they're not independent of each other. So pulling is the right thing. In this question also, we are checking the right use of noun after the comma. Although she had been known as an effective legislator, first in the Texas Senate and later in the United States House of Representatives. So she had been. So who is doing the action? Barbara Jordan. So just after the comma here, we should have Barbara Jordan, like here and here. Okay? Because this whole action has been referred to Barbara Jordan. Who is she? Barbara Jordan. Now between B and E, another difference is which were and which was. Let's see what it refers to. When she participated in the hearings on the impeachment of President Nixon. Okay, so this were refers to the hearings. Okay, so were is the right usage. It's plural. Was is the wrong usage. B is your answer. The Achaemenid Empire of Persia reached the Indus Valley in the 5th century BC, bringing the Aramaic script with it. Okay. So, what does it refers to? Okay. The valley or the empire. This it should refer to the empire. Okay. So, with it, that's the right usage. And if you see others also, from which deriving, from which was derived. So, what is derived? The northern and southern alphabets. So, was derived is wrong. Deriving is the wrong usage. I mean, deriving itself is not verb. Okay. If I say I am deriving something, that is the right usage of verb. If I simply write deriving, that doesn't become verb. So which derive again, we have which derives would be wrong because the two things, I mean, it's plural, northern and southern in the alphabets. So which derives would be wrong. Again, deriving would be wrong. So this is the right usage. So here, first of all, it's looking to versus looking at. Looking at means we're looking at something physically. Okay, so I'm looking at this chair, I'm looking at this table. Looking to means looking forward to something. I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. So looking at is the wrong usage. It's looking to. Second difference is it's versus there. Now see, if I say one of my friends is a doctor. So one of my friends, I'm referring to that one particular friend. So is the right usage. Now if I say one of the doctors who passed their exams from Harvard. So now one of the doctors who passed their exams. Now this refers to the doctors. Same thing is used here. Cleveland is but one of the large number of communities. The communities looking to their waterfront. So there is the right usage. It says out and so it says out. C is the right usage. Next is the use of subjunctive clause. Subjunctive means futuristic. Futuristic verb, futuristic action. For example, the Supreme Court ordered that the government take action, versus the Supreme Court ordered that the government should take action. So government take action is the right usage here. Okay, should is not the right usage in these cases when the action is futuristic. Okay, so who demanded that it bring back the original Coke formula? This is the right usage. Let's see others. That it should, we've already seen, this is wrong. Demanding it to, wrong. And their demand to. Now this gives a feeling that the company is yielding to the consumers and their demand. It's not like that. The company is not yielding to two things. No. Who demanded it to? No. That it is the right usage. So this is the right answer. Now here, when we separate two lists, we use and when we are counting things in a list, we use and when we are nearing the end of the list. For example, I won A, B and C, and I lost X, Y and Z. So this and is to connect two things, and this and is to see that we are nearing the end of the list. Same here. So this is the right usage if you see. Okay, so the reasons were the rise of A, B, C and D, and in the victory of so and so. Okay, so that's the right usage.